how to actually grow your gym.
A lot of people in the industry just don't know what to do.
It starts with understanding what they're thinking.
An insanely important thing that most people don't consider.
If you're a really low priced gym,
It's just a numbers game.
that is how you grow your parkour gym on purpose. All right, what's up, Christopher? It's me, Jimmy Davidson. Christopher's on the call with me. We are here with Motion Mentors, and today we are talking about how to actually grow your gym. What is the marketing? What is the systems? What are the ways you have to manage it? What are the inputs to get the results of actually having your membership numbers and your revenue and your profit grow? That's what me and Chris are going to jump in on today. That's what we spend a ton of time working on at our own parkour gyms, as well as working with other parkour gym owners so that they have their hands fully around the wheel, growing their gym on purpose. Christopher, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually really excited for this conversation because something that a lot of people are interested in the parkour industry is, how do I actually grow my community? And also, how do I go from being like a coach that is really great with parents and really great with kids, and I'm tasked with growing my gym, and I don't really know exactly how to do that, what are the actual actions that I take to have more members, to have more trials, to grow my level 1 class, my level 2 class, attract the type of people that I'm looking to serve within my community? Those kinds of questions. A lot of coaches and a lot of people in the industry just don't know what to do. So the topic of today's call will go a long way to really equip people that want to make a bigger difference, want to grow their community with the tools to do so. So I'm really excited to be here, Jimmy.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to cover a lot of the topics that are in the book $1 Million Parkour Gym. So specifically, we're jumping in on Chapter 4, Generate and Nurture Leads, Chapter 5, Close More Sales. We'll probably touch on some of the things in between, like client journey, probably the value ladder as we talk about who actually does this work. Absolutely a culture of accountability, which is Chapter 12. And that's like the managing and the making sure that all this actually happens. And then along the way, we'll touch on what to actually track for success. And that is Chapter 13, Track Your Business Metrics. So if you want to get even deeper into all these topics, $1 Million Parkour Gym, check it out on motionmentors.org. And you can also get a free audio version of it here on this podcast, just a few episodes back. Okay, so we want to grow our gym. It's January at the time of this recording. So a high performance gym ought to have some membership targets and some growth targets and have a plan for how to actually hit that. And it all starts with your marketing. So in January, we want to really have an idea of like, what is the thing that makes January such a high performance month? We have the new year trend, new you trend, where folks are aware of that. They want something different for their kids for the year. They want their kids to have less screen time or fall in love with a sport for the first time or get back into sports. Or maybe if you're an adults style program, these people want to have more fun. They've been stagnant in doing what they're doing. They want to get stronger. They want to use the strength they already have to actually play more. Whatever your avatar is, it starts with understanding what they're thinking and what's going to bring them back in. Once you have a clear idea of that, then we just got to tell that story. And that looks like making multiple videos, not just one photo, multiple videos, because there's multiple kinds of people listening to us, Chris. There are people who are pretty aware of what we do. They already know parkour. Maybe they know there's a parkour gym in town. Their kid probably watches like Minecraft parkour videos or whatever. The kid already knows and might even be already asking. That's like highly aware. Easy to make a video about that. You just say, hey, parents in city name, did you know there's a parkour gym here? Well, at name of parkour gym, we do XYZ. And along the way, you're showing kids and coaches doing the thing, having fun. And at the end, you give a clear call to action. Click on the button. We'll show you our class times. Just tell us what age your kid is. So that is the easiest one to do. That will probably get you the most leads. But that's also the smallest audience. The other side, and there's options in the middle too. The other side is unaware. They have no idea. One, they have no idea that they even have a problem, Chris. They don't know that their kid has too much screen time. They're not really aware that their kids should be doing more, or that kids in general are experiencing a problem. They're unaware of even the problem. So you start your video with that. Hey, parents in city name, did you know that kids today are struggling with, an average of 7 hours of screen time? I think it was 4 hours of screen time a day right now, which is huge. Frankly, between me and you, that's a lot.
As you talk to customers that are coming in for the first time as well, you'll see that our salespeople and our coaches, anyone that's at the front desk is keen on sharing the value with parents. And the parents are like, whoa, that's crazy that you're addressing that kind of problem. And that's also what really separates us parkour gyms, when I say us, from facilities like a Sky Zone or like an Urban Air or like any trampoline park or thing like that. That's one of the things that really separates us. And that's also what's in the advertisements and the marketing that you're making is, hey, this is actually the value you're getting, is we're addressing this really huge issue that you might not even be aware of that you were dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we need to tell that story so that the person on their phone, they're scrolling, they see that and they read, hey, parents in city name. And then wherever they are on that awareness spectrum, whether they're highly aware or completely unaware or in the middle, if you can make a few videos that talks to everyone and it all flows to a landing page, and that landing page has just one idea on it. It's, we do parkour, we solve your problem for this age group. In my case, at Freedom Motion, we do kids. You might be adults, you might be a wider range. We solve this problem for these people. And if that's you, click below and we'll send you our schedule, right? So we're not asking for them to sign up. We're asking for them to just give us some info so we can tell them the schedule. And that low barrier ask that we give really optimizes how many people raise their hand, put their name in the form, and they say, yeah, let me get the schedule. And then the game is on, right? We have leads. What do we do with them, Chris?
Yeah, once you have a lead, you put them into your CRM. If you don't have a way to really visibly track these leads coming in, it's going to be a mess. There was a gym that I was working with recently, and they were using a class software that collects leads for them, and it just puts them all into one bucket. And when you look into that bucket, it was like 16,000 potential prospects, and they were a mess. It was like some of them had just come in, some of them were from like a birthday party, some of them were from like an ad. And me, who manages my leads from a CRM, I was like, this is a nightmare. And so one of the things that you really want to get your hands on, if you have your Facebook and your Instagram ads, you have your Google search ads, you have your SEO and your local search, you have all of this stuff pulling these leads in, you want those leads to go into a CRM. And this is going to give you, and more importantly than you as the business owner, it's going to give your team the ability to nurture those leads and move them through what we call an opportunity pipeline to ensure that they're booking a trial and they're not going 24 hours without getting contacted by us and warmly invited to come participate and try a trial class. So you want to make sure if you've done everything right with your marketing and your advertisements, it'll make no difference if they're not being accurately maintained and then nurtured through a sequence. If they're just put into one bucket, man, it's just a huge mess. So the next thing that you need is a CRM.
Did you say 16,000 leads? What time range is that over?
That was over the course of like the decade that they had been in business. And that was just their big bucket.
Yeah. All right. So we typically see when you have a CRM and you have a team managing the CRM, meaning they contact the new lead on day one, again the next day, again the next day, again the next day, and ongoingly, and you have a good booking policy, you don't overbook your classes. When people show up, you actually sell them the right way. You don't just get walked over. You overcome objections, you work with them, and you get membership sales. If you do all that, and we're going to talk about that, you typically see about 30% of all your leads end up becoming members. That's like a pretty hardy industry trend among the people who are actually putting in the effort. So Chris, 16,000, 30% of that would have equated to 4,800 additional members over the decade.
Yeah. That makes sense. And there was a gym that I was working with recently. And by the way, getting the CRM, that's not where the journey stops. There's then managing the CRM, which I will touch on. But there was a gym that I worked with recently, and we examined their CRM and we found out, wow, there were over 100 uncontacted leads in the new leads column. And there were 30 of those were within the last 2 months. And I asked the owner of this gym, I said, what's your target for if you just had this amount of members? If you had this amount of members, everything would be different. Like your finances would be fantastic. You'd be able to pay for anything that you wanted, reinvest in your gym where you wanted. You'd have a way larger budget. What would that number be? He's like, a life-changing number would be like 30 new members. And what happened is we got together on a call and we distinguished who was responsible for what, who was really driving the sales here, what hours did they have this week to put into these pipelines, these new leads, and how many people could they expect to reach on that during that time, and what kind of support do they need to actually contact that amount of leads, and which ones should they contact first, and when you go into the specific client, how do you update it, and how do you show that you tried to contact them visibly? So we just went over piece by piece exactly what they would do in the 6 to 12 hours that they had between the two of them for the week. And we did that work, and they booked 18 trials and they registered 5 people right away. So we went over 10% of our goal in 12 hours of dedicated work. But that work and how to do that and managing that CRM and who does what and making sure they actually have the resources to succeed is an insanely important thing that most people don't consider alongside the CRM.
Yeah, agreed. And most parkour gyms don't have a CRM. And we've gotten the reasons of that. It's just another software subscription. It's $179 or more a month. Okay, well, what if your sales velocity, the amount of people that you're signing up every month, what if it improved by just a single person? That single membership ought to be that cost or more. But I know that if we compare the gyms in our program, Chris, to gyms that are not in our program, of which we have a lot of data on both sides, gyms in our program often double the amount of sales velocity the members are signing up every month, like soon after implementing their CRM. And our CRM actually even has an AI capability into it where it can book and converse with people and talk with people for you. And that, if you've seen our past episode with the Parkour Performing Arts Academy up in Northern California, the amount of new people that just the AI alone has booked has been more members than they needed to even pay off the CRM. So the reason why I say that, that's the first reason why people are like, I don't want to get a CRM and improve my business. The next one, I understand more. It's just that it can be complicated. It's a whole new system. There's multiple pages. There's pipelines. What is a pipeline? You have to there's tags and there's ordering, there's filtering. Well, the solution to that is that me and Christopher has already put in
get some
hours and hours of work organizing a parkour gym CRM that we actually use. We actually use it every day in our business. And when you sign up with our CRM, it creates what's called a snapshot. It's like a duplicate of how our account is set up, given to you. So the setup is already there. A lot of the automations that happen, for example, when someone goes to your landing page, completes the form, well, then what? The automation already puts them into your new lead bucket. It automatically sends them that first initial email and SMS just to say hi and get the conversation started, and a bunch of other stuff.
Dude, the best automation too. And by the way, you're talking from the perspective of like a business owner, and also looking from the perspective of someone managing the CRM, like as just someone in sales, just someone in sales. Having the automation that we've created within our CRM saves so much time and effort for someone running the sales system, because it's sequenced out in such an easy to follow way. And if I don't get a hold of someone, instead of taking the time to manually leave them a voicemail, we have automation where you can just click a button, and the button is also labeled with that pipeline. So you can just look, oh, there's that button, there's that pipeline. I click it, it leaves a pre-recorded voicemail, and then I just drag them to the next contact. And in that way, I can meaningfully reach people with like our voice and what we want to say, appropriate to the stage that they're at, in a record-breaking time. And we can reach, 30 to 50 people within like a 2-hour stretch. And that's more than enough time to handle the leads that are coming in and generate enough of a member count to make up for just about anything that you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. And using the CRM, and because of what it comes with, we've been able to get off of MailChimp, which for us was like a $400, $500 a month subscription. We've been able to drastically reduce how much we use Zapier, which is like a webhook. It connects your softwares together. It does the automations. We were spending like $2,000 on that. Reduce that down to like $300, and I'm about to finish exporting our last automations on it. And when I started building all these automations for Freedom in Motion, I didn't know anything about automations. I had to spend like years learning how to do that, growing that new head. I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, but now it's all built in there and it works for you, ready to copy to your account. Okay, so that's just me addressing the other reason that it's too complicated. And I didn't even mention that we do the onboarding for you. And if you're in our program, we jump in there and help you also.
Okay. We train your team, we create the whole action plan, we examine the pipeline with you, and we can literally piece by piece break down an action plan, how long that will take, and then execute a short sprint to get your pipeline completely healthy. And this really is just a numbers game. If you put in this amount of time tending to the leads in this way, you will have your memberships. That's it. It's that simple. It's just a numbers game.
It is. All right. So let's say you have your CRM. The way it's set up is your new leads go into one bucket. You call them every day. Then they get put into the next bucket, which is I've contacted them once, and then you contact them again the next day. And there's 3 more of those. I contacted them twice. I contacted them 4 times. So we for sure reach out to them for 4 days in a row, multiple attempts. So we're calling them, we're texting them. There's a couple emails in there, and that can continue. Maybe some people say, call me in the future. Okay, cool. Well, we put a task on that has a date that triggers when that date is approaching to tell your sales team, hey, this person said 6 months ago that they'll be ready for a trial class this week. So get to it. And it's with that organization and those triggered notifications where your sales team can make those bookings. They earn commission, so they're excited about it. You're watching your trial class slots fill, and then you have someone there in person. Chris, what happens then?
Yeah. So if in the CRM, you make it pretty easy and simple to collect things like that you need to also get them into your class software. So the CRM should automatically collect things like their name, their child's name, their child's birthday. And if I'm at the front desk, I can just instantly and easily make that person's profile according to the information that we've collected from the CRM. Takes about 2 minutes to set up, and then their account is fully ready to go. We've collected their credit card information for a trial class, and we get them registered and booked. Now, this is just a pipeline, okay? This is just a pipeline of getting trials booked and people into your gym. What happens after that is entirely a whole other conversation. We have things like the perfect first day policy to ensure that when someone that is taking a trial class with us literally has the perfect first day and experiences the impact that parkour can have on you and your life. And our coaches are very specific with the actions that they take to deliver that type of experience. And they're also very intentional about the handoff between the end of the class and the person that's at the front of the desk closing the sale. And they assist that whole process every step of the way. Our salesperson is also highly trained in objection overflow and knows the sequence of events to alert the customer about what offers that they have and recommend basically what's going to serve the customer the most and also have the company make the most money. We offer participating as much as you possibly can. Why? Because if you're taking parkour 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to experience 2 or 3 times the benefits, and the business will also make 2 or 3 times the money. So there are specific ways that we tie our value to our membership options in our sales training. And I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg in the type of training that goes into on the floor translation of trials to bookings. So there's a little bit for you, Jimmy. Anywhere there you want to zoom in on or elaborate or talk about?
Yeah. So I think the average parkour gym is pretty good at the actual parkour class. That's very rarely something that we need to jump in and make tweaks to. Like you said, the perfect first day, having an actual choreographed and practiced routine, how the sales team interacts with the coach, doesn't just tell the member, okay, good luck, your class is in that room, like I hope you find out what class you're in. It said they're introduced to the coach, and the coach walks up and says hi.
And that does happen, by the way. We have seen that where it is just like they just come in and have to find their way.
Yeah.
Somehow they register still with you, because parkour is awesome.
Totally. So yeah, having that choreographed routine from front of house to the back of house, the parkour class is awesome. And then afterwards you re-deliver them. And then it does take a lot of practice. How do you pitch a actual membership in a correct way where you are using something called assumptive sales language? We have a whole article about that on our website. You are using a pricing binder. So you have this visual representation of your memberships. It's a literal like printed out binder with just one membership option on each page. It's like low information, so you're not overwhelming people visually. That way, when you give your recommendation, you can open up to the page you want, show it to them, and then pitch and ask for the sale properly. And then, when they have questions, when they have objections, an objection is anytime they say no to the sale in a way that you could overcome. So they're like, oh, I need to talk to my spouse. You might be like, go ahead and take out your phone, stand right over here, give them a call. That way, if they have any questions, I'm right here to ask. When your team is trained on those branching pathways of what could happen and when and what do you say, that's really how you optimize the sale. And zooming back out, that whole conversation is something that we show up to parkour gyms and do a 3-day sales training live with their team, and we drill everything. So it's almost even a separate conversation than what we're talking about here, Chris, which is the sales engineering.
And if you want a good example of us doing that with a gym, go check out the podcast we did with Apex. There is some really good feedback and sharing specifically from the people that are on the ground making the sales and also people that are examining the pipelines from a distance and not interacting directly with the call volume. And so you can kind of see from their sharing the impact that sales training that Jimmy is talking about, where we show up for 3 days and train your team and the whole operations of it. That's a great place to go dive in there.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So you have your everything set up. You have your CRM, you have your ads launched, you have your team, you're actually contacting your leads, you're getting bookings. You're not done yet because things break. People lose, their rhythm, they get sick, they get busy. We've seen more than our fair share of gym owners who even have the CRM, even have leads rocking, like technically have all the boxes checked. But when we check in on them, there's, I think that the example I have in my head was there was 175 new leads that were just totally not followed up with, like basically lighting our advertising dollars on fire. And it's just because the gym owner and the staff around them like got busy, got distracted. Other stuff in life comes up, and that's okay. It's even expected. But what's important to have is the plan for how do we get our hands back on the steering wheel here? How do we actually take control back over? And what do we do triage style? What work do we do first? Christopher, you and I, you especially, have been doing a lot of work helping gym owners like manage their time and manage what their order of operations here is. What have you noticed?
Yeah, there's a few things. One, and the most important one, is visibility. So a gym owner, if you're a gym owner and you've purchased a CRM, you've got to understand it. You've got to take the time, and I've come across this with many people. You know, you have well-intended, hardworking people in your gym. You do. And when you purchase a CRM, you hand it over to them and you just expect things to work because you've worked with Jimmy or myself and you've implemented the Facebook ads and you've addressed your SEO and you know that leads are coming in. You've set aside your budget. The analytics tell you they're performing well and your sales team says they're working hard. You know, what the heck isn't working? And then you go actually look into the CRM and get visibility and then say, oh, wow. There's a field that I can check that shows me when something was created and when something was updated. And if I have those two fields selected, then I have a really good idea of when I collected these leads and when the last time I acted on them was. I had a general manager reach out to me yesterday and they asked, hey, how do I activate these fields? Just that alone shows me that she was intelligently thinking about the management of her pipeline and what priority there was to contact. So that's my first piece of advice. If you're a business owner, get some visibility into your pipeline and understand the health of it, the condition of it, the state of it. Is it healthy? Have leads been contacted within 24 hours? Are they stale? Has it been 3 days? Has it been 10 days? Has it been 3 months? Does your sales team act? Can they inform you on what's happening in the pipeline? Do they actually know how to use it? And, you know, I came across another situation recently where really hardworking salesperson and just amazing attitude and awesome work ethic and just totally wasn't trained in the system. So was just being completely ineffective at moving leads, was also calling from their personal phone, didn't know about how to connect their phone to the CRM so that their calls showed up and automatically helped move the pipeline along. So there were little things like that with the team dynamics as well, that if the business owner had visibility into the CRM, they'd be able to fix. There's also things that can break down at any stage in pipeline health. There's calling people, there's texting people, there's rescheduling people that originally booked with you, but no longer, you know, for one reason or another, they didn't show up. There's actually booking a trial. There's adding a task. That was what Jimmy was talking about, that is assigned to you or another salesperson or a general manager or a head coach that shows up just for them on their dashboard as an action to take at a specific time. Like if someone said, hey, reach out to me in a month from now, you set that task for 1 month from now, and it shows up on the day and time that person is working. You learn how to take accurate notes so that if someone is checking into the CRM and I'm taking over Jimmy's work, that Jimmy just spent 6 hours in the pipeline and he's like, all right, Chris, I'm handing it off to you. And I go in and there's amazing notes and I know exactly what every single person is dealing with. And if I've already contacted them or if I haven't, or anything weird or anything that I should know that they mentioned in their conversation with me about maybe something important to them in their life that Parkour could help them with, like confidence or courage. Those are all in the notes in the CRM. Then there's how to actually move the pipeline correctly. And why we do those things and how we do those things have to be communicated to the people that are responsible for moving the pipeline. And speed is a really important thing. So training people in how to move quickly through a large volume of calls, but also in a way that is like actually reaching these people and actually warmly inviting them to join our community and really having that human connection, but also like really having a speed, having a velocity. and not ever relying on your memory. Your memory and your brain is a total sieve, but equipping the CRM with everything that you know about this person and intelligently updating it. And it doesn't take long. You just have to be trained. So that way the tasks inform you and the CRM informs you. And instead of you relying on your memory of where every stage is at. And then and then from there, it's easy. You manage those day-to-day actions. There's getting out of a hole if you've gotten yourself into a hole for one reason or another, because some part of the system fell apart or some training was lacked. So you get out of the hole. And then once you're out of the hole, it's just like daily actions is so easy and so set up because of the CRM. So there, Jimmy, is a little bit of insight into like a broad view, but also a specific view of kind of some of the work that I've been doing with business owners and also sales teams.
Yeah, excellent. And you can hear how you have all that in place. You're really managing your leads. You're not relying on your memory, and you're getting bookings on purpose. You'll be able to do the math on how is your gym going to grow. You'll see how much money am I spending on marketing? Let's say it's $1,000. Okay, for that $1,000, I'm getting 250 leads, maybe 200 leads. Okay, cool. So now I can see my cost per lead. Okay. And then from your cost per lead and from how many leads you have, you'll be able to see how many of them are booking into your hopefully paid trial class. Okay. So from my 200 leads, I got, 70 of them to book a trial class or 50 of them to book a trial class over the course of this month. And then you run your awesome parkour class. Maybe like 80, 90% of those people actually show up. And then from there, it's all up to your in-person capability of closing those people, doing the actual speaking skills of selling membership. And hopefully you're in the like 70 and above % closing range. Well, then you have however many clients you successfully sold. Maybe you got 20 new members, right? 20 new members, and you spent, what did I say, 2,000, 1,000 or marketing or whatever. You now have your cost to acquire a new member. Okay. It's called your CAC, your cost to acquire a new client. And with that, then you can just look at the math and choose, how much do I want to grow by? Okay. That means I have to spend this much money. And that tells you if your money math even works. If you're a really low priced gym, like you're at $100 a month, $120 a month, which is low. Okay. That's like red low out of red, yellow, green. But you had to spend like $150, $175 to get a new member. That was your CAC cost. Well, then you know that you're not going to actually be profitable on this first new member until like month 3 or something. And we know, Chris, this is a separate conversation, but we know that a huge amount of members actually cancel around month 3 and 4 at the average parkour gym. So you need to look at your money math and be like, does my acquisition channel and also my membership pricing support me growing profitably quickly? Or am I actually spending money to be in the red for 3 months and then half those people cancel and then I'm actually just right back to where I was? So if that sounded familiar to you, you might need help on your pricing. You might need help on getting clear on your data, but that's how you do it. You look at the numbers, you look at the money math, and you just put your CEO, your CFO hat on and look at your business and just move the levers and dials until it works. And when you have all these systems in place, all the sales engineering and then the management, and you have the skill to oversee it and make sure that the train tracks don't derail and you can actually get back on task here. That is how you grow your parkour gym on purpose. And that's what me and Chris are here to help as many parkour gym owners do as possible as we continue to our goal of teaching 1 million people to fall in love with parkour.
Well said. And, one of the things that separates Jimmy and I from other consultants, and I'll say, I can say this confidently, hey, this is a point of difference for us, is, a lot of consultants will say like, here's how to do your ads. Here's how to do your marketing. Here's how to have a healthy pipeline. And that's what we're doing on this call. We are going so in depth and really trying to equip you with the tools. But if you have us hired as consultants, it goes so much more in depth. We stop saying, hey, here's how to do it. And we say, let me do it with you. A lot of that, a lot of calls that I do with people is literally just, let's look at this together. Let's do this together. So I'm not saying, hey, here's how it should look, or here's how you do this. I say, let's do this together. Let's actually click this button together and go in together. And I do that with your teammates, and we will do examples together so that way there's absolutely no questions. And that's the kind of work that you can count on Jimmy and I to do with you in just about every aspect of our service, our marketing, everything that we talked about in this call. We will help you set up piece by piece so that it is really working, and then support you in the ongoing management of that, and the training of your team in that, and the documentation in that, and the systems in that, so that you can take the 40 hours that you were taking putting all of these people into an Excel sheet and parsing them and highlighting them green if you got a hold of them, and yellow if you didn't know, and red if they said no, and take those 36 hours and then reinvest them into stuff that you really are passionate about in the business, and or things that you would like to do more of. That for me is my joy in being a consultant, is winning back your time with these strategies so that you grow 3 to 4 more times and you work 3 to 4 times less.
Yep. Yeah. You just touched on the value ladder. If you work smarter, the work you actually do has a more value per hour, instead of being there color coding your Google sheet red, yellow, green. That made me laugh because people totally do that. If you just have a system that does that for you, well, then you can focus on smarter, more high value things. And that's the value ladder. And just that concept is a whole chapter in the book. All right, Chris, I think we nailed it for today. That is sales engineering. That is how your acquisition pipeline ought to be set up with those beats. If you're looking for a CRM, head to crm.motionmentors.org. You can see the one that we have. There's a video on there that walks you through it. And of course, there's tons and tons of free articles and content on our website, motionmentors.org. Check out our blog, check out our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Pick up the book if you haven't yet. And of course, everyone gets a free call with us. And I'm happy to say that that call is actually a coaching call. Okay, it's not just me telling you the stuff that we do, because you already know. I said that on this call, right? So on that call, I ask you, what is your business doing? What are your metrics, and how can I help? And then we dive in. Okay, so if you are interested in that, motionmentors.org, head to the book a call session, and we'll see you on the other side. Chris, thank you for your time today.
Dude, thank you, Jimmy. Really awesome conversation. Super appreciated you being here. And thank you, everyone listening. Talk to you soon.
Peace.